You ever have that feeling that just when you think you've won, the real game is only beginning? That was me. Lancaster was in cuffs. The corrupt HOA empire crushed. The whole neighborhood had watched justice play out in real time. It should have been over. But then came the call. It was late. Too late for anyone but bad news. Unknown number. I let it ring twice before answering. "You've been busy, Chief." The voice was calm, steady, the kind of voice that belonged to someone who never had. To raise it to be heard. "Who is this?" I asked, already pulling my laptop closer. Call tracing wasn't exactly my specialty, but I knew people. And I knew that if someone was calling me after what just went down, they weren't calling to congratulate me. The voice chuckled. "Doesn't matter. What matters is that Lancaster was just a small piece of the puzzle." I leaned back, fingers tapping against the table. "A test. They wanted to see how much I knew. That so?" I said casually. "Then why don't you tell me who's holding the rest of the pieces?" Silence. Then click, call ended. I stared at the phone, traced the number. Burner, of course. The next morning I found the package. Plain brown box. No postage, no return address. Just sitting there on my doorstep like an unwanted gift from the universe. Now, I don't scare easy, but let's just say I didn't open it with my bare hands. Inside, a flash drive. And a single note. "Watch this before it's too late." I exhaled slowly, because something told me I wasn't going to like what I was about to see. Hey, real quick, if you're enjoying the video so far, make sure to hit that like button, share it with friends, and subscribe for more awesome content. And while you're at it, drop a comment and let me know where you're watching from. Alright, let's keep going. I sat at my desk, staring at the flash drive like it was a live grenade. Whoever left it on my doorstep wanted me to see something. Needed me to see it. But that didn't mean I'd like what I found. Still, there was only one way to find out. I grabbed an old laptop, one I never connected to Wi-Fi, just in case things got messy, plugged in the drive, and clicked the only file inside. Play. IMME DENF-MP4. All right, mystery messenger, let's see what you got. The video was grainy, low light, but clear enough. A hidden camera, maybe a phone propped somewhere it wasn't supposed. To be a private meeting. 5 men sat around a sleek polished table. High-end suits, the kind of guys who didn't show up in headlines, but owned the people who did. The one in the middle spoke first. Deep voice. Slow, the kind that made people listen. "Westgate was sloppy," he said. "We can't afford another mistake like that." Westgate. The HOA I just took down. My jaw tightened. One of the others leaned forward. "We still control over 60 communities across the state, and that's just phase 1. 60? Phase 1? A third man, older, polished, adjusted his cufflinks. "It's not about one neighborhood," he said. "It's about control. People don't question policies when they believe they're for their own good." The first man nodded. "That's why we set the rules. HOAs, security firms, zoning, boards. We dictate what's acceptable. People comply or they pay. Either way, we profit." I exhaled slowly. This wasn't just about HOA fines and fake security. This was bigger. A system designed to control entire communities, to keep people in check, to drain them dry. And I had just pissed off the men running it. The video continued. A fourth man, thinner, nervous, shifted in his chair. "And the chief?" My ears perked up. The deep-voiced man didn't blink. "He's a problem, but problems have solutions." The older man smirked. "Find out what he values, and take it from him." My stomach turned, because in that moment I knew. I wasn't dealing with small-time crooks anymore. This was something else, something bigger, something I might not walk away from. But here's the thing about me, I don't scare easy. Backing off wasn't an option. I'd seen enough. The video made it clear. This wasn't just about a corrupt HOA. This was organized control, a network of powerful men who dictated how people lived, where their money went, and what happened when they stepped out of line. And now, they saw me as a problem. Good. Because I had no plans of playing defense. I spent the next few hours planting bait. I wanted to see who was watching me, Who was desperate enough to make a move? So I fed them a lie. First, I made a few calls. Told a contact in City Hall that I was meeting with a state investigator about the HOA scandal. Then, I sent an encrypted email to a dummy account I knew was being monitored, hinting that I had another video, something bigger. And just to sweeten the deal, I left my laptop open by the window, screen glowing with a fake document labeled Community Corruption, Full Report. Now, all I had to do was wait. They took the bait faster than I expected. 4:43 a.m. A soft click at the back door. Most people don't notice it. That tiny, almost imperceptible sound of a lock being picked. But I'm not most people. I was already awake, already waiting. I stayed still, watching the shadows move through my living room. 2 of them. Gloved hands, dark clothing. Professional. They weren't here to rob me. They were here to erase me. The first guy moved toward my desk, eyes locked on the laptop. Rookie mistake. He thought the house was empty. The second guy, more cautious. He hung back, scanning the room. Smart, but not smart enough, because by the time he turned toward the hallway, I was already behind him. I moved fast. A sharp, precise strike to the side of his neck. He barely made a sound before crumpling like a cheap lawn chair. The second guy heard it, but by the time he turned, he was staring down the barrel of my .45. I tilted my head. "You looking for something?" His hands lifted slightly. "Listen, man, this isn't—" I cut him off. "Not your call to make." Silence. He knew it. I knew it. He wasn't walking out of here without giving me answers. And just like that, the hunters had become the hunted. The guy in front of me wasn't panicking. He wasn't begging. Wasn't sweating. Wasn't making desperate promises to cut a deal. That told me one thing. He was a pro. Not some street thug sent to scare me. A fixer, a cleaner. The kind of guy corporations, politicians, and crime syndicates use when they need a problem to disappear. And tonight? I was the problem. I kept my gun steady. "Who sent you?" He smirked. Smirked. Like this was some kind of joke. "Does it matter?" he said, voice smooth. "Too smooth." "Yeah," I said. "It really does." He tilted his head, studying me like he was the one in control. Like he wasn't standing in my living room at gunpoint. Then he sighed, like he was disappointed. "You were warned, and that's when I saw it." His jaw shifted, not out of nervousness, not out of fear. Purposefully, I lunged, too late. His teeth clamped down and his body jerked. A low shuddering breath escaped his lips as he collapsed onto my floor, eyes going glassy. Damn it, cyanide. Dead. Just like that. I stared down at him, heart pounding. I'd seen guys like this before, professionals willing to die before spilling secrets. The fact that someone sent a fixer meant one thing. I was playing in the deep end now. This wasn't just about power-hungry HOA board members or backdoor business deals. This was bigger. And the people behind it? They weren't just watching me. They were hunting me. I crouched next to the body, patting him down. Nothing in his wallet, no phone, no ID. Professional. Thorough. But then, in his jacket pocket, I pulled out a sleek black envelope, embossed in gold letters, the Edison Gala, by invitation only. An exclusive event, high class, private, the kind of place where power players make deals in plain sight. And just like that, I had my next move. Some people spend their nights watching reality TV. Me? I spend mine sneaking into high society events hosted by the kind of people who make reality itself bend to their will. The Edison Gala wasn't just a party, it was a power convention, a gathering of the rich, the influential, and the untouchable. If the video on that flash drive was right, this was where the real game was being played. And tonight? I was sitting at the table. I walked through the entrance, blending in like I belonged. Black suit, crisp tie, expensive watch I borrowed from, an evidence locker, just enough to sell the illusion. Nobody looked twice. They never do. The ultra-rich don't suspect a man in a suit. They only see what they expect to see. I grabbed a drink off a passing tray and scanned the room. The guest list read like a who's who of corruption. Councilmen. The ones who decide which laws get enforced and which get Overlooked. Developers. The kind that buy entire blocks, squeeze out the locals, and replace them with high-rise condos. Police officials. Guys I used to shake hands with, some of whom had probably signed my birthday card last year. But then, I saw him. He stood near, the back speaking in low, deliberate tones. Older, mid-50s. The kind of guy who didn't need to raise his voice to be heard. I recognized that voice. The mystery caller. This was the real power player. And right now, he was talking about me. I slipped closer, weaving through the crowd. Drink in hand, posture relaxed. Just another guy in a room full of people who thought they owned the world. The chief is unpredictable, he was saying. That makes him a liability. A councilman scoffed. He's just one man. The older man, let's call him Mr. Kingmaker, smiled. Yes, but Lancaster underestimated him, and now Lancaster is in chains. A murmur of agreement rippled through the group. Someone else leaned in. So what's the play? Mr. Kingmaker's smile didn't waver. We remind him that everyone has something to lose. That was when I knew. They weren't just planning to stop me, they were planning to break me. I was already planning my exit. I'd heard enough. Enough to know these weren't just corrupt businessmen and politicians, they were architects of control, the kind of people who didn't just bend the law, they wrote it. And now, they were talking about me. That was my cue, to leave. But then, my phone vibrated. Unknown number. They know you're here. I went still. Not good. I flicked my eyes up, scanning the room without moving my head. Had anyone noticed me? Was anyone watching? No one was looking directly at me, but that didn't mean they weren't aware. I exhaled slowly. Okay, think. I still had time to leave. Just walk out the way I came in. Smooth, casual. Then the doors slammed open. Nobody move. Hands where? We can see them. Police flooding the room, weapons drawn, not private security. Not some shady off-the-books enforcers. Real uniforms, real badges. For half a second I thought maybe they were here for the right people. Maybe someone else had been watching, tracking these guys. Then I saw where their guns were pointing. At me, a uniformed sergeant stepped forward, shouting orders. Christopher Nash, hands up. Well, that answered that. They weren't here to stop the criminals. They were here to arrest me. I didn't fight, didn't argue. I knew how this worked. I raised my hands, keeping my expression neutral. Mind telling me what this is about? I asked. The sergeant's lip curled. Save it. 2 officers grabbed me, yanking my hands behind my back. Click cuffs. Around me, the room watched in silence. The politicians, the businessmen, Mr. Kingmaker. And every single one of them was smiling. That's when it hit me. This wasn't about getting rid of me. This was about destroying me. As they shoved me toward the exit, I locked eyes with Mr. Kingmaker. He lifted his glass in a slow, mocking toast. And I knew. This was far from over. Jail cells smell like sweat, bad decisions, and disappointment. I sat on the metal bench, cuffs digging into my wrists, listening to the faint hum of cops pretending to do paperwork. They thought they'd won. Thought slapping a badge on corruption made it legal. I'd seen it before. Probably arrested a few guys who went through the same thing. But this wasn't over. Not by a long shot. Then the door creaked open, and in walked someone I didn't expect. She wasn't a cop, didn't have the stiff posture or the hollow eyes of someone who'd spent too much time following orders. Instead, she had a notebook, a cheap blazer, and the look of someone who hadn't slept in days. A journalist. She sat down across from me, flipping through pages, barely sparing me a glance. "You're Christopher Nash," she said. Not a question. I raised an eyebrow. "And you are?" She smirked. "The only person in this building who doesn't think you're guilty." That got my attention. Her name was Emily Carter, investigative journalist. She leaned forward, voice low. "I've been tracking these guys for years." I studied her. "And now you're in an interrogation room with me. That's a hell of a coincidence." She snorted. "It's not. I pulled strings to get in here." I raised an eyebrow. "Why?" She slid a folded paper across the table. I opened it. Inside, A list of names, some I recognized, others I didn't. But at the very top, Mr. Kingmaker. She tapped the page. This isn't just about you, Chief. They've been doing this for decades. HOAs, zoning boards, law enforcement, controlling communities is just step one. I leaned back. And you have proof? She smirked. Enough to burn them to the ground. That should have been good news. But then she sighed. There's just one problem. I already knew what she was going to say. We don't make it out of here, I said. The story dies with us. She nodded. Great. So now I had two problems. 1. Clearing my name. 2. Breaking out of this damn station. I glanced toward the two-way mirror. They were watching, listening. We didn't have much time. I leaned in. You have a way out? Emily grinned. I didn't come in here without a plan. That's when the power cut out. Sirens blared in the distance, and the whole station plunged into chaos. Emily stood up, adjusting her blazer. There's our cue. I looked at her, then at the darkened hallway, and for the first time since getting arrested, I actually liked my odds. There's a special kind of silence that happens when the truth hits harder than a bullet. That's what I was listening to now. A room full of people. Cops, politicians, power players, watching in stunned silence as their entire empire collapsed in real time, and I was the one who pulled the trigger. Emily's intel was airtight. Documents, secret recordings, wire transfers leading straight to the top. It wasn't just one corrupt HOA. It was a web, a system built to control neighborhoods, crush opposition, and bleed people dry, all while hiding behind legal loopholes and bureaucratic nonsense. We didn't just leak the story, we hijacked a live news broadcast. Every channel, every screen, every phone. For 10 straight minutes, the world saw exactly who had been pulling the strings. And when the names started dropping, the internet did the rest. Phones started ringing. Newsrooms went into overdrive. And the arrests? Oh, they came fast. Council, members, business moguls, high-ranking officers. Some tried to deny it. Some tried to run. None of them got far, but there was one name missing. Mr. Kingmaker. I stood outside the station, watching the city wake up to the truth. Emily was beside me, phone buzzing non-stop with reporters trying to get a quote. I took a breath. The fight was over, or at least this one was, because somewhere out there, the real mastermind was still watching, still waiting. I clenched my jaw, staring into the distance. This wasn't the end, I muttered. I turned, walking away from the chaos. This was just the beginning. If you enjoyed this video and want to see the next part, let me know in the comments. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to stay updated. See you in the next one. Your support means the world.